Yeah, so today, welcome Wolfpack for a very special Friday. It's special because it's another day in our lives where we're getting to create the next level of who we want to be. It's special because you're here. It's special because it's Friday. It's special because there's so many reasons to be happy and grateful. And I'm grateful for you being in this Wolfpack, being here on this call, showing up for yourself, showing up for each other. And I have a lot planned for today. So today we're going to be talking about your sizzle reel, which is one of the most important things I can cover. Before we do, it's great timing for me because I'm working on the new version of my sizzle reel with Ashley, and I've had a lot of homework to do. And we had this idea of something cool that we may do in the new version of my sizzle reel, which is have like all these different pictures like flashing on the screen. And so I've been looking at some pictures that I want to use. And I came across a picture today that is not one that I want to use for the sizzle reel, but it made me smile because I remember this moment on stage. And it's something that I would love for you to experience. So I'm going to show you the picture and then I'm going to explain it a little bit. Okay, can you see that okay? So this was a fun moment. This is where I was doing a keynote concert. And the person there next to me on stage, that is the event planner. And he was running up on stage to give me a hug. So that's how you know when they're happy. You know, like usually they'll be at the back and like maybe they'll applause or they might be part of the standing ovation or something. Like he came all the way from the back and like ran up on stage to give me a hug because he was so thrilled. And you can see me looking at him like, is this really happening right now? And I'm a hugger, so I wasn't quite ready for it yet. So I did give him a big hug on stage. But that was just a fun moment that I was revisiting as I was looking at some of my event pictures. And I share this because when event planners are really happy, like they're really happy. They're relieved, they're happy, they're ecstatic, and he was like definitely showing that on stage, which was a cool moment. And that is what I want for you. I want event planners running up on stage to give you a hug. And so, but before any of that can happen, there are things that we have to have in place, which is what we've been talking about. And a big part of that is your sizzle reel, which is a reason why I'm upgrading my sizzle reel, because the industry changes and we have to keep up with what's current, what's hot in the industry, what event planners are looking for. And so I'm going to be sharing that with you today because I've talked about the background and why your video sizzle reel is so important, but I haven't quite gone into a lot of detail as far as what you really need to include. So I'm going to walk you through that today. Before I do, I want to remind some of you to make sure that you're using the Mastermind portal to find your resources and things like that, so you can log in anytime. So there's so many resources. I'm not going to go through all of them because you can log in anytime and look at them. But there's one that I wanted to remind you of, which is the Keynote Concert Checklist. That's in your Mastermind portal. So you can go through that, and that's an action checklist for you to follow as you've been going through the curriculum of the Mastermind. One thing I wanted to point out with that is one of the bullet points in that checklist, I talk about my standout story formula, which is actually different than what I've been teaching. I've been teaching you the seasons of your story to use for your standout story. But if any of you have gone and watched those videos of the standout story formula, it's actually different. And just know that you can use that too. So that's what I used to teach until my teaching around telling your story evolved. And like you've heard, I've taught about the seasons of your story, but I also teach another formula there. And it's a different formula, but it works this, roughly the same for your standout story. So I just wanted to clarify that, as I remembered that was in the document, and it's a different formula, but still for your standout story. And if you happen to prefer that one, then you can certainly use that one too, whichever works for you. So I just want to remind you about that keynote concert checklist in there. And there's something that I wanted to share with you today, which is a fun mastermind bonus. So there's been some questions around, like, how do we find companies to do events for? And I've answered a lot of those questions. But one of the ways to find companies to do keynote concerts for is to find the best companies to work for. And why is that? Because typically the companies that are ranked as some of the top companies to work for are not only the most employee friendly, but they typically have the best cultures. They typically are the most progressive, which means they typically are more likely to book you for a keynote concert rather than just another boring speaker. In other words, they're more open to doing something like that with you because it's so much more creative. So I actually have a link for you. I did a little research here, and I have a link to the top 100 companies to work for this year. So Ashley already put it in the chat. So thank you, Ashley. I love how Ashley does that before I even finish saying it. That either means that Ashley's really fast or I'm really long-winded. I think it's probably both, is what I'm thinking. So you have a link there to the top 100 places to work, which is a really great resource for you. And like I've been teaching you, you can go to that resource and then find the company and go to that company's website. And then from there, you would go to the contact page or the contact us page or something like that. And then typically there's going to be a phone number and an email address for their point of contact, which then you would reach out to them and you would ask them the simple question, who books the keynote speakers for your live events? Like, that's it, just that one line, right? Because your goal is, that's it, is to find out who the person is or who the people are. So that's something that will really help you. Jatem is delivering a smoothie for me. Hi, Jatem. Thank you so much for my smoothie. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You're very helpful. Thank you. All right. So I'm all distracted by Jatem's cuteness and my smoothie now. So that is a really great way to initiate that process of finding out who the event organizers are. I also have a quick caveat for you of one word that you could add to this sentence. So I said, like, if you ask them, who's the person that books the keynote speakers for your live events? You could even say, who's the person who books the featured keynote speaker for your live event? Because sometimes events may have more than one. Sometimes events have breakout sessions and things like that. But if you say that, the featured keynote speaker is being even more specific to you being the featured highlighted keynote speaker on stage. So that's a little bonus tip and resource for today. And so now let's talk about your video sizzle reel, also known as your demo reel, also known as your highlight reel. And here are my strong suggestions and recommendations for you. I'm gonna have a little, I've got a lot, I have like a drinking station here. This is amazing. So I have my hot tea going on. Then I've got my I got my alkaline water happening, and then I now have my smoothie. So there's just so many, it's like a bar. It's like a Tiamo bar happening right here. Whoa, okay, that tea was like way spicier than I thought it was gonna. Boom. Okay. That just like totally woke up my whole mouth. What is happening in there? Okay. I mean, it's a sweet and spicy tea, but whoa. All right. Excuse me, everybody. Yeah, sometimes like I love ginger, but sometimes ginger is like there's a lot of ginger going on there. All right. So going back to the sizzle reel. So time-wise, if you can, you want your sizzle reel to be no more than 5 minutes. 3 to 4 minutes is actually ideal, just because of people's attention spans and how busy event planners are. So 3 to 4 is ideal, but 5 max. And you may find if there's more footage, like I tend to have a lot of footage of me on stage, which is why mine has been longer than 5 minutes, which is, a nice luxury and sometimes a challenge to have. To get it down to 5 minutes, as Ashley knows. Sometimes it takes me like months to get down to 5 minutes, which is great. So eventually when you have, that amount of footage, that'll be a great position to be in. But out of those 5 minutes, you want the first 30 seconds to be your best. This isn't like, oh, we're going to build up to the best part of the reel. That's like 3 minutes in. Like there's so much lead in, anticipation and build up. No, like we're not building up to your best moments. Like your best moments need to be up front so that you capture their attention so that they want to keep watching. It's very similar to, if you've got an executive who's going to listen to your single, it's like that first 30 seconds has to be great. It's got to be the best single. It's got to be the best first 30 seconds because they decide, all right, like, am I going to listen past the first chorus kind of thing? So it's like that. So you really like your best, not music clip, but your best speaking clip up front. You also want to make sure it is very high quality video and audio, because in today's world, like it can't just be okay or it can't just be decent. Like it has to be really high quality video and audio, because sometimes artists will have like a great video quality, but the audio is scratchy or staticky, or it's like, oh, and then it's like unfortunate because you just can't use it. Or it might be vice versa. Like the audio is great, but the video is like grainy or shaky or whatever it is. Like it can't be shaky, it can't be bumpy. Like it's just, it has to be pro quality. So you want to make sure that you are mostly having speaking clips. Now, speaking clips is a general statement. So let's look at more specifically what that looks like. So to be included with your speaking clips would be you teaching a powerful lesson. It doesn't have to be long. I've actually, in me reviewing some of my video clips today, there's some clips that are like 10 seconds where I'm teaching a lesson in those 10 seconds. And so teaching a powerful lesson. Another possibility is maybe you're sharing a quote, like a really powerful quote. Another one is perhaps a peak moment of your story. Or it could be some story highlights. So either like a really great peak moment of your story or a few of your story highlights. And don't feel like you have to have the whole story in there, because I've been faced with that before. And I know many others who I've coached before have felt like, oh, well, for me to take a clip of the story, they have to know the whole context of the story. So I've got to include the whole story, even though some of the clips aren't good. But I'd rather have some not so good clips so that they get the whole story. It's like, no, we're making it too complicated. So you can actually take a small clip from the story. They don't have to know the whole story. They don't have to know all the context and the background and what led up to it and then what happened. They don't need that, because really what they're looking for is your speaking style. So I will actually take clips of me speaking where we don't really know a lot about the story, but it's just a great speaking clip. Like either there's a lot of emotion in it, or there's some great voice fluctuation that I've got going on, or there's like some impact or whatever it is. So they're just trying to get a sense of what kind of speaker you are, and do you speak with impact? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be yelling and shouting either. Okay, like it just depends on your style and your presentation. You know, I tend to do some of that, but I'm not saying you need to be. It's like, it's just, it might be something that you're saying that's really insightful, really impactful, really moving, really touching, things like that, where it's a part of your story, but don't feel like, oh, now I got to include the rest of the story. Because sometimes, you know, it's like to capture a great through line in an entire story on video clips is hard to do, because like then the whole clip has to be great. And if you have that, then that's amazing. But, you know, basically you're taking parts, just small parts of those clips. So don't feel like you have to have like this whole through line of your story. Other speaking clips that you would want to include would be audience reactions. Now, if you can capture any audience reactions, that is like the gold of video speaking clips. It could be very quick. It could be someone in the audience laughing, and those are like double gold. If they're smiling, if they're laughing, like if we see the emotional expression on their face, that to us from a meeting planner perspective means it's like it's social proof that other people are liking your presentation, or better yet, loving it. So I've gone through probably hundreds of hours of clips just to find like 3 seconds of someone with tears in their eyes, or someone laughing, or turning to the neighbor and saying something, like, you know, those kind of things. If you can even just get one of those, that is great. Which is why, like, when you're doing your own keynote concert and you're going to have your video team, if you have a second camera angle that's facing the audience, or even the side, but best is if they're facing the audience, it's totally worth that second camera just to see the audience faces light up. And it doesn't have to be the whole audience. It could be just one person, or like it could be just one person sitting in the front row or something, and you said something and they're laughing, or they're smiling, or their head nodding. You know, when you get these head nodding, it's like, oh, whatever that person just said is like so informational, you know, or yeah, laughing, smiling, crying, not crying like in a bad way, but like crying, you know, you can tell the difference when you watch it. So those are really, really great if you can capture that. Another speaking clip option is where you're sharing some content. Now, let's say you've got like in your keynote concert, you've got like 5 minutes of content, and it's like the top 10 keys to having rapid success. All right, like I'm just making that up. Well, this doesn't mean now that we have to hear all the top 10 keys. You know, it could just be one of them, or it could be, you know, 2 of them that you're sharing, or something like that. So some content clip, then another one, which if you can get these are great. They're so great, is any spontaneous moments that happen on stage that maybe you didn't plan on, but it just happened in the moment. Maybe you said something really funny that you don't know where it came from. Maybe you said something really wise or insightful. Maybe you had a playful moment on stage that you never planned on, and the audience is reacting, and it's like, well, like that was the best moment on video. So also look for those spontaneous moments Now, we're not trying to force them, right? Like you can't force a spontaneous moment, but if it happens on its own and you can capture on video, then that is great. So those are the components. I'll review them really quick. So speaking clips that you want to consider for your reel is teaching a powerful lesson, sharing a quote, having a peak moment of your story or story highlights, audience reactions, a content piece, and then spontaneous moments. So like I said earlier, now I know that I am repeating this and I am repeating it on purpose. Open your reel with a speaking clip. Okay. Now, no matter how many times I say this, there are musicians that are like, but, oh my God, that performance I gave was like so amazing. I have to open with that song. They have to see me in my element. They got to see me in my artistry. And so then like the first 30 seconds is like you like singing. It's like, okay, what does that do? Then that you're perceived as a musician, which means you're perceived as like background musician person, or, you know, like, oh, maybe we'll have them singing during the dinner or like whatever. Like, so we're not doing that. Okay. So I'm repeating it for a reason because I don't want anyone to do that. So what is the balance? Like, what is the ratio as far as speaking clips versus music clips? Because I do want you to have music clips in there. Absolutely. Because you're doing a keynote concert. I'm just saying the music clips come later. So here's a ratio that I feel works really well as a formula, is about 75% speaking and about 25% performing. Now, I'm not saying it has to be exact. Like if it's 26% performing, now it's going to totally ruin your reel. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying roughly 75% speaking, 25% performing. Also, if you have some good pictures of you, if you have any good pictures of you speaking, or, you know, this would be a good reason for you to also consider in doing your keynote concerts to not only have the videographers, but maybe have a photographer so that they can take some pictures of you on stage. And then you can also integrate the pictures of you on stage in the reel. This is particularly helpful if you don't have enough great speaking clips. Okay, so because you can fill them with some pictures of you on stage, pictures of you smiling, a great picture of you speaking in the microphone, maybe a picture of you in the audience, a picture of the audience, you know, those kind of things. So it's great for that reason. It's also great eventually in time as this grows and evolves for you, if you have pictures of you on multiple stages, right? So then we can see like, oh, this person's been on more than one stage, right? So I get initially that you got to start somewhere. So it's great to have a reel of you on one stage, but eventually as you're doing more stages and you have pictures of that, then we can see, oh, okay, like this person's done a variety of workshops or seminars or conferences. You know, this is something to play with. This is something that I've done where if you have a video clip of you on a really big conference stage, sometimes these conferences may not permit the audience members to be in the video shot. I've experienced that with really large conferences where there's like thousands of people. And it's sometimes a bummer because I'm like, oh, you know, I really want to capture the magnitude of this conference. But there I am on stage and you have no idea how many people in the audience. So that's something that you could show through text, you know, so it could appear in the video of like, you can indicate how many people are in the audience, right? So it's like I've got a nice clip of me performing on a stage where there's 15,000 people in the audience, but you would have no idea that there's, you know, it could be 100 people, it could be 50, like you don't know. You just see me on stage just because of that whole, you know, like employees' heads not being allowed to appear in video. So I actually put that in the video so people know like this was a pretty big gig. You could also have testimonials appearing in your sizzle reel. So it could be a video clip of someone sharing a testimonial. It could be even a text testimonial. It could be written. It's ideal if you do have video. That tends to be the most powerful. Now, you don't want that testimonial to take up too much time, right? Like it's a minute and a half or 2 minutes. Well, now that's like a third of your reel. So you may just want to take out the best parts of the testimonial, and please only use really good testimonials, because I've seen where people use testimonials in your scissor reels, and it's like, that actually was just a downgrade. Your scissor reel was just downgraded by this testimonial that is very okay. You don't want very okay testimonial, like you want great testimonials. The more testimonials you get, the better, right? Like, let's say you have 10 video testimonial clips, and out of the 10, you capture like 10 seconds of something that one person was saying, then that's totally worth it. And that's why I recommend when you do your keynote concert that afterward, with the video crew, that you have someone doing video testimonials for you, where your fans and supporters, coworkers, friends, family, all of that, know that this is something like, even, you could even tell them like, hey, everyone, afterwards, if you'd like to leave a video testimonial for me, I am looking for testimonials for my highlight reel. And it would mean a lot to me if you shared, genuinely how you felt. And I find that usually testimonials are not that great, but you'll get 1 or 2 people that are really animated, and they absolutely thought you were like the best thing that ever happened to them, and so then you can get a clip from that. I do also recommend that you work with your video team to prompt people on what questions to answer. So more of like, what was the emotional impact that this keynote concert had on you today? Who are you, right? People need to say who they are, what was the emotional impact, and would you recommend this to anyone else? Right. So you want to give people guidance, because if you just say, hey, could you give me a testimonial, then people are like really sloppy, just go all over the place, then you don't really get good footage. If you have worked with people, or eventually if you do work with people, companies, schools, associations, things like that, made some public appearances, and you have logos, you could also have those appear in your sizzle reel, because those help a lot. If you don't, that's okay. But eventually, when you do get them, then great. Also, another component to the sizzle reel is having a voiceover, a professional voiceover. I know sometimes people feel like, well, I'll just record my own voice and then I'll do my own voiceover, which is something I don't want you to do, because I want it to be coming from someone else. And maybe if you have a really great voice, that's awesome. But, just having someone who does professional voiceover makes a big difference. So it might be a female voice, might be a male voice, might be someone with an accent, whatever you want to do. Typically, you would write out a script for them, for you, what you want them to say, like word for word. So you type it out. You could hire someone to do it, either on Fiverr or Upwork would be good options. Thank you, Ashley, for putting those in the chat when you have a moment. So you go to Fiverr, Upwork. I've gone through both to hire voiceovers, and I've given them a script. Usually it's like 20 seconds, 20, 30 seconds. And you have them say what you want them to say, which makes you sound like a really big deal, basically, like someone else is doing it. So then you would have the voiceover over the speaking clips or performing clips, and you would most likely, you would have yourself muted so that we could hear the person talking about how awesome you are. Then another component, which I believe is one of the most overlooked, is having really, really great background music. And we know the power of background music because we're all musicians. And so you could have a video clip of you, but I remember like one of my first speaker mentors, Um, I I was like reviewing my sizzle reel, excuse me, reviewing my sizzle reel with him. And oh my God, it was just like, it was such a tough process because I would have to keep making changes, keep making changes. And I remember I finally felt ready to like show him my final sizzle reel. So I went over to his house in San Diego. And we watched the clips. And there's one clip which was like a really great clip of me speaking, but the music was like a lower energy. And I remember him telling me like, this is not going to work. Like this, the music is bringing down the vibe and the energy of the clip. And so I had to really go through and reconsider and think about the music that's going into it. So the mood of the music has to match the mood of the clip. And typically, like, you want the mood of the background music to be upbeat, lively, inspirational. But you got to find that balance, right? Like maybe it's not like too over the top, like insanely motivating with like things exploding in the background. I don't know. Like if that matches you, then great. Like it just depends. But you don't also want it to be too soft. So I spend hours and hours going through and listening to music clips. But the way I do it is I watch myself on mute. So I have the video clip playing on mute, and then I go through all these different types of song clips. Now, typically, I will also look for a genre. So I might type in like inspirational or motivational or things like that. So I'm looking for a certain type of genre to narrow it down for me, because there could be like thousands of songs, right? And you're just spending like weeks doing this. So I go through and I listen typically to like the first 10 to 20 seconds of the clip, and I go the next one, next one, next one, next one. I watch myself on mute as far as my video clip, and then I try to sync them together. And then I try to take a certain part of that music clip that matches. So it may not be the first verse, it may not even be the second verse, it may not be the chorus, it might be the outro, it might be the bridge. I don't know, but I go looking for that. And I want you to spend a lot of time on that, because that is like the emotional element layered on top of your speaking clips. One of my favorite places, there's a lot of stock music sites. There's tons of them. Maybe you have your own preferences. Maybe you're on some of them. One of my favorites is called premiumbeat.com. And there it is in the chat. Thank you, Ashley. So I really like this one. You pay more for it. In some cases, quite a bit more, but I'd rather pay more for really great selections of music clips. So that's what I do. And I sometimes will have a variety. So in my reel, I might have like 5 or 6 different music clips, because the video clips are all going to be different. And then at the end of your sizzle reel, you want to make sure that you have your contact info. So we've watched the reel. And think of like your video might be shared with other event planners. So not just necessarily, because your video is going to be on your website, like we've talked about before. But what if someone just wants to share your video, right? And so someone may not be on your website. So you need to have your contact info at the end of your reel as well. And make sure that it's really clear how to get in touch with you. Okay. So those are my highlights for what I recommend with your sizzle reel. It sounds like a lot, but touch upon all of these. Make sure, because these are the differences, in my opinion, between an okay sizzle reel and a good sizzle reel and a great sizzle reel. Okay, so all right, so we will open it up for questions. We'll start with questions around the video sizzle reel and what I just shared, and then we'll expand and we can I can address any questions you have about anything else that's going on in your world. So we're going to start with Jackie.
Hey, thank you.
Hi, Jackie.
Hello. Hi, everyone. A quick question about the personal information that you mentioned for the end of our sizzle reels. What should that entail?
Just a contact email, phone number, and your website.
Okay. For the phone number as well, do you think it's good if we have like, here's my direct cell phone line number, or should it be like, I don't know, a Google Voice or something else?
Yeah, it could be Google Voice. That would be great. I know that we use that for our customer support. So Google Voice with a nice professional message on it. Or, something like Grasshopper if you want to get a little more fancy, things like that. But Google Voice is free. So I'd recommend that. And then email. That's also, you don't want it to be clear that it's your personal email. Like JackieRocks@gmail.com, it's like, no, let's not use that one. So typically like a booking at email. Info at is okay, but I prefer booking at, or if it's another person, right? So for me, it's actually the contact that I would give. Her name is Susan, because Susan works with me. She represents me. So, clearly it's someone else. It's not me. So, yeah, that's what I would consider. And then your website URL.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that question, Jackie. Okay, Jeza.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Nice seeing you again,
You too,
Tiamo.
Jeza.
I got a little bit confused with the part where you mentioned the voice over. Um, how exactly does that work? I mean, could you maybe give more details? I guess I didn't hear something, or I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna pretend to be a voiceover. So let's say everyone's watching Jayza's video reel, and I'd be like, Jayza comes from such and such, and she's spoken on stages such as the Enlivened Entrepreneur stage. You've also seen her on the Empower Women conference, and finally, she has spoken on the Wolfpack Live show. So it's
Great performance.
what's that?
Great performance. Can I hire you?
Yeah, I was unraveling a bit at the end there. I couldn't keep it together the whole way through. But so it's really so that it's like they talk about your highlights and your credentials, but it's coming from it's someone else's voice. And it's almost like if you were to watch a movie trailer, right? And a movie's coming out, and it's like coming this Friday. It just sounds like all exciting and everything. It's like never seen before footage.
It's like those big car shows, Tacoma Dome. Cool, I got it.
With like the horns in the background and stuff. Yeah, so, but we don't want it to be like, I mean, we're laughing, which is great. We don't want it to be like over the top funny or comedic, but it's coming from someone else, which then, just makes you look like a bigger deal.
Got it. Thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Sunday. Yeah, so not quite like that. But, okay, let's go with Midge. Hi, Midge.
So on the sizzle reel, hi everyone, is it the whole thing isn't going to be a voiceover or all music, it's going to be different parts, right?
Yeah, the voiceover would just be one segment of it.
Okay, that's what I want to make
So
sure.
it might be like 20 seconds or
Okay.
something like
Do you
that.
have an example that we can look at?
Yeah, you can go to my site and check out my reel. Like I said, I'm updating mine. So when I have the new, so I don't know if this would be valuable to you, but when I have my new reel done, I could walk you through it and
be
point
awesome.
out the things that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, but you can go to my reel and you'll hear a male voiceover on there.
Okay. That's all
Yeah.
I needed. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. So yeah, go to tiamokeynoteconcerts.com and then you'll see it there. Okay, Janine. Hey, Janine.
Okay, I think I hit the right button. Can you hear me? Hi. Hey, everyone.
Hey,
Good to see you. I've got two quick questions in regard to the testimonials on your sizzle reel. What do you think about the idea of using just a slide with in inverted commas, this quote from this person, perhaps
yeah,
while there's music playing? If I don't have the video stuff yet,
that's
but I
great.
do have, I already have a number of testimonials commenting on my performances, but some of them are generic enough just to talk about my stage presence and my, connection with the audience. So I thought of maybe using those just as a slide, keep it up for 3 seconds or something, let
Oh
enough
yeah.
time for people to read it.
Or it doesn't even have to be a slide on its own. It could be the words on top of a video clip,
Yeah, true.
right? Instead
Okay,
of video clip and then slide and then back to video clip, it could be words on top of a existing clip.
you're right. Yep. Okay, cool. And then the other question, the music for the reel, I just wrote down, well, should it be my music or not? It seems like you've chosen some generic stuff that you can use in it, and obviously the music takes you on a journey throughout the sizzle reel.
Yes. Yeah, I love how you
Is
put that. It is a journey.
is
And
there
it's, sorry, go
would you
ahead.
say would you say there's a peak at all? I know you said hit them with the best stuff in the first 30 seconds, but would you then how would the line of the peaks and troughs kind of go in the build,
Yeah, the line depends on your video clips. So it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But I
yeah.
would say higher energy first.
Okay.
Right. So we're not like building up to it and like, oh, when is it going to get there? Like best clips first, higher energy. Again, it doesn't have to be over the top, but like we're feeling it, right away. Boom, like, oh, okay, like, wow. So, and I would say something like a little more current and modern and, like those kind of things, right? So something that feels like just really cool, cutting edge a little bit, like, yeah, like, oh, this is awesome, like maybe almost like a dance track kind of thing, or like, wow, like we can move to this, so but that it's going to very much depend on your video clip. So I can't really say the wavelength of it, but I have some clips where the music is less, because maybe I'm speaking lower, maybe I'm speaking slower. Maybe I'm making a point that doesn't need to have like high energy music around it, but I like slow it down. I've been doing something with my upcoming new sizzle reel, where I even just have like violin solo behind it because I'm saying something emotional. It's like just violin, but it's like really fast. It's like, and then like right after that, like beats come back in, and it's so. If you can take them on a wavelength of emotions, that's great because that's what your keynote concert is. And it is a journey. I would say like start with the video clips first and then the order of your best clips. So best clip number 1, best clip number 2, and like all of that. And then you'll start to see what the music progression is going to look like with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess it's a thing that will just, when you have all the information, you have the material, and you start to piece it together, you'll get the feel of the flow of it. Whether it kind of builds and ends with something sort of more dramatic or catching, starts that way, but then follows a bit of the emotional journey.
That's right.
Would you recommend using your own music? I know in yours, I think you've got a song where you're singing. So that is kind of a lead up to that actually happening. So that you see the visuals and you're hearing the music as well.
Yeah, you can definitely do both. Use your own music. I've tried my best in the past to not use my music because it's my music, but to use it because it is a great fit for what I'm trying to accomplish. So
yeah,
I've mostly used other people's musics, but I will also like in my current sizzle reel, I open with my music and I end with my music because it happened to work out with that song, which is a pretty high energy song. So it could be both. I'd also say too, you want to end your sizzle reel on a high note too. So you don't necessarily want to like fade out or come down from it. Like you want to end on a higher note, higher energy, so that when your sizzle reel is over, it's like, oh, I want to see more. Like, you know, like that kind of feeling. As opposed to, all right, I'm ready to wrap this thing up and looks like we're fading out anyway. So that's good. So let me just stop it now. You know, like,
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. Great. Thank you for that. That's great.
Sure. Yeah, you're
info.
welcome.
Thank you.
All right, Beth.
Yes, well, let's see. The voiceover, Tiamo, you said it should be about 20 seconds, and should that be at the beginning? Do you usually have it 20 seconds consecutive, like all the way through, or do you have it at the end as well? Like, kind of like, you know, be sure to book Beth, or, you know, what do you,
Yeah. Now 20 seconds is, I'm being very general. So
okay,
it could be 30 seconds, it could be 15. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying 20-ish seconds.
Mhm.
I would not open with it because we want to open with your speaking clips, just that somewhere in between. You know, it could be like, yeah, like I would say if we can initially get 30 to 45 seconds of you on the front end so that we get a good sense of your delivery. And then after that, if you want to incorporate the voiceover, then cool. It could be, you know, like the first minute, around the first minute, second minute, third minute. I wouldn't bring it, like I would bring it in somewhere between like roughly the first minute and like the third minute, you know, so that it's not so much toward the tail end of things.
mm-hmm.
And then as far as the end, you could have a voiceover saying, you know, to reach Beth or to book Beth for your next event. It could be the same person or someone else. I haven't done that, but that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I
All
like
right,
that.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
I just had a couple more questions about it. So the music, so at the beginning, it'll be you're speaking, it's your best video clip of you speaking. And then as we go about this whole process, the first things is all those sequences you described, we'll be doing all the video part first, and then we'll do the music right after that. Will we go back and do the music? And then would the voiceover also be over, like that's like a third layer, like that would be over the music kind of? Okay, that sounds good. And I was wondering, do you have your sizzle reel that you could show us now? Like, I think it would be really, you know, fun to see it and helpful.
I'd be happy to, although mine, I feel like mine is outdated. So I'd rather go over one that's like new.
Okay, all right. Just because we're
Um,
all, I think most of us are beginners here. We just, yeah, just to kind of get an idea. But
Well, let's see. I mean,
that's
do
fine.
you guys want me to go through my current reel? Because you could definitely go and watch it yourself, but do you want me to just be intentional about it and walk you through it?
Yeah, well,
The
maybe you
modern
can,
one.
maybe
I'm
you
happy to watch
explain
it later,
what-
but if you think it'll be instructive to show it now to everybody, let's watch it now. Your call. You think we would learn more having you walk us through it than we would learn just watching it?
And I'm a
Well-
fan of the modern one instead, because you're talking
Yeah.
about it being more present and current. So that might be more helpful.
Okay. So here's what I'd say is, you know, your sizzle reel, you want to update it every few years. Yeah, I would say, like ideally, if you are doing this regularly, you're doing keynote concerts, then every 2 to 3 years, you want to change it. So, you know, for me, it's been, yeah, it's probably been about that. I would say it's been maybe 3 years, 2 to 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. Thank you, Ashley. So about 3 years. So for me, it's time. And I go back and I watch my current one. I'm like, yeah, that feels like 3 years ago. Because what event planners are like through the lens of what they see with reels, they change every few years. So now with reels, there's more movement. with the video cameras. So, and if you watch it, I totally like, I watch very little TV, but when I do, I can totally see, I'm like, oh my God, that's the same thing with like the whole conference speaking world. They're doing the same video stuff, which is videos like going side to side, like no longer are the videos just sitting there still frame. Like people are talking and the video's going, this panning side to side, it's zooming in and out. Sometimes if you'll notice, like it'll zoom in really fast, zoom in again, then zoom out and they're talking. And then the frames are like 3 seconds. It's like three, you can count it. It's like 1, 2, 3, boom. 1, 2, 3, change. 1, 2, 3, change. Even though someone's talking about the same thing, like, yeah, thank you, Ashley. Jump cuts. I don't know. I don't know all the fancy terminology for it. So jump cuts, and jump cuts are like all over the place now because of people's attention span. So for me, it's like my reel 3 years ago, that wasn't as important. Whereas now it is. So now my clips are moving faster. So it's just a different pace. So I feel it's most ideal to show you what my new one's going to be.
Okay.
Based
thank
on what I'm teaching here today.
Yeah, thanks, GMO. And I had one last question for you. Do you, as far as a video team to do this, I think did you say like local colleges and universities would be a good like source for that? And are there people that specialize in doing sizzle reels too, so that, you know, then you don't have to do quite as much explaining? I mean, of course, it's going to be very personalized, but they would know exactly, you know, how to do it.
Yes. So first part, great questions. You could do it through a college or university videographer, students who are, you know, wanting to do that professionally. There is some risks to that, right? So you're getting a student, which some students are, you know, they're brilliant. You are getting a student versus, you know, professional. So I've used students and it's turned out great, and it's also turned out not great. So it can be unpredictable, but definitely like interviewing them and seeing their work and like all of that is a great thing. Now, what I think like more budget friendly wise would be your main camera, like camera 1, which is your face on shot. That has to be good. So maybe other camera angles, then you could have students perhaps. So if you're not doing a video crew with like all camera angles, maybe camera 1 is someone you hire that you feel very confident with. And then maybe, you know, second camera angle or B-roll footage or the video testimonials, like those kind of things. It's like, if that doesn't go well, you can live without it. Like, it's great to have, but you can survive it, right? Like, but that video 1, like that is, we can't compromise on that. Unless there's like a student and you've seen their work and they've done this and they're like a total rock star. I don't know, but so that's how I would look at it.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Just to see their portfolio and, like you said, interview them. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I think
Thanks,
you had a second. Was there a second
Oh.
part to your question?
There might have been. I'm trying to remember.
Does anyone else remember? Because I remember thinking in my head, there's 2 questions here.
Yeah. Well, just the team. Well, it sounds like we'll need a photographer. You kind of answered the question about hiring a professional for the main, like straight on, face on shot, and then, you know, interview people to do the angles, the testimonials. But then the photographer, I guess it could be the same thing, just see their portfolio. Is somebody good who's going to be there? So they're either part of that team or
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and it's okay. So a few other points. You know, sometimes with the video team, you might get a good deal because you're hiring a second camera or a third. So you know, consider that, like that, if they offer that. as a package. So you might be saving with that. If you want to just stick with that team versus a hybrid students and team. And then I think that was all I wanted to share.
Yeah, would they have, and would most of those teams have a photographer as part of it? Like when you did
No.
yours? No, okay.
Sometimes, here's what I found too, is like photographers for speakers, it's way better than your regular photographer.
Hmm.
So normally I would just at my events, I'm like, wow, certainly I could find someone who has a great eye and takes good pictures and like all of that and do my photography. And then I just wouldn't get very good shots.
Mhm.
Versus like, and then I started hiring photographers that specialize in taking pictures of speakers on stages. Like, okay, this is like so different. You know, it's just somehow they know the exact second, like the exact moment to capture and the audience and those kind of things. So this is all just depending on you and your budget. You know, I'm not saying now you have to go out and get a specialized speaker photographer, but of course, with anything, if you hire those who specialize in those areas, you're going to get better quality. So, yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. And then somebody did put in the chat, Maura put that I ask about people specializing in sizzle
Yes.
reel.
That's what I knew it. Okay, thank you. Yes, so there are people that do specialize in speaker reels. But you're still going to need to give them a lot of direction because they don't know exactly what you want. And remember this, like what we are doing is, even if you have someone who's done speaker reels, they've probably never done the speaker reel for someone who does keynote concerts. So this is a new concept for like everybody, not for us, because been working on it for a few months now. But for others, it's like, what? Keynote concert? I never even heard of that. So in a lot of ways, it's even more exciting for them. But yes, there are people who are specific to speaker sizzle reels. And while you may pay more for them, I believe it's worth it because your reel is just that important.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. Thank you so much, Tiamo. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy you asked these questions. And actually, I'm happy you mentioned like I've hired people for my retreats that are actually so you have people who specialize in retreats, that they capture things that other videographers wouldn't, all of that. So yeah. All right, let's go. Hi, Val.
Hi.
Hey.
I have a question about other people's sizzle reels. Like, do you have, while we're anxiously awaiting your new one
Yeah.
to see, are
Yeah.
there any people that are just out there in the industry that you admire their sizzle reel?
Oh yeah. Well, so there used to be, and then I studied them a lot, and then I figured out my own reel, and so I haven't been looking as much. But my most recent and current speaker mentor, his reels are like it's phenomenal. So let me see if I'll pull up his site, and then you guys can see his reel.
Cool.
Okay, let me see here. Oh. Oh, here we go. So I'll tell you, man, every time I go to this site, he's got a new reel too. He's ridiculous. Yeah, I would say he puts like, I mean, maybe I would say based on what he's shared, probably like 15 to 20 grand into his reels, like each time he does one. So, it's going to show though. And I think I've shared with you before, he makes about 30 to 40K per keynote. So, it's like, it's a whole nother level. And yeah, so let's see here. I just want to check this out myself really fast.
For those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Vin.
Okay. Interesting. All right, so now Vin is going to follow a little different format than what I've been sharing with you, because Vin is extremely established in the industry. So I would say a lot of event planners already know who he is. So his reels tend to be more cinematic and theatrical because he can, right? So it's sort of like, if you're a celebrity, you don't have to do what other people are doing, because it's like you're already really well known. And so you can be even more creative and more of an outlier and all of that stuff, right? So, and I would say, based on what I've seen, he probably changes his reels like every 6 months or so, which is, it's crazy. But he has like entire teams that like their job is just to do his reels. And then when he speaks, he has like huge video crews that go out there and like, so I'm painting a picture of, someone who's been doing this for a very long time and makes, he's compared to a lot in the industry. So with that being said, you can go to, I don't know, where's, oh, okay, look at that. Interesting. Okay. So he also has a reel, like his virtual speaker reel, given the era that we've been in. So he had a virtual one too. So what I want you to do is you can check those out, but I think the one under it, so there's one that says VG virtual. Hold on, let me see if this is the one I'm thinking of.
When I was teaching magic online, I focused on one area and was passionate one area in particular.
Okay, hold on, I'm almost there.
What is magic? You really have to define it. How would you define it? The answer is actually quite simple.
All right, so I'm going to send you to his homepage. The first video is a blend of him speaking on stages and virtual, and then the video underneath that is more of his more of his keynote, like live in person clips. So there you go.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so have fun with that. So you can check that out and look at it. But it is, rather than feeling like you have to create a reel like his, you can take aspects or components of it and integrate it with what you're doing. Because, now I don't want you to feel like you have to have a reel like his, because then you might feel a little discouraged. Okay, so like Vin, we all had to start somewhere, but I think you'll really enjoy it. And there are also aspects of like behind the scenes with Vin and getting to know him more personally, because when you're a rock star, that's like really cool, right? But if nobody knows you, it's like it's not as cool, right? So I think you guys hopefully get what I'm saying around that.
Totally. Thank you so much. So that's very aspirational for us, and I can't wait to dig into those. And I'm wondering, you don't have to answer now if you don't have one. If there's also another example of someone that's more closer to our level now, that also has a really great sizzle reel.
Yeah, so Ashley, you had someone in mind, but in the Low Bros, that would be cool. Faith, yeah, the Low Bros. Do you know where they're? Yeah, that
I'm
would be
just on
good.
YouTube. Yeah, I'm just on YouTube looking around at some of our former students who have them all up here. So
Okay. So maybe Ashley, if you want to explore some of that, like a good clip from the Low Bros. The Low Bros, and then Ashley mentioned Faith Rumor. So both of them are past clients of mine. They've been in the Wolf Pack. So Ashley is going to check those out to see if there's something there.
Great.
And then we'll see.
Thanks so
Oh,
much.
well, I wonder if I just totally okay, now all these like speaker friends of mine are coming up to my okay, hold on. This would be a great one. This is good. Wait. I'm totally thinking out loud here if that's okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, great. Okay. So this is someone who oh wait, hold on. Where's his site? Interesting. Okay, I don't know. Let's go with all right. So yeah, I think this will be, should we just all watch it together?
Yes, I
Okay.
say yes.
Well, let me make sure. Hold on. Let me just check it out here. All right, I haven't watched this in like a year, but yeah, maybe we'll watch it and I don't know if we have to watch the whole thing. But this is Clinton Young. He's a friend and he's also someone that I've trained. I think you heard from him during MPM, during the 3-day event when I was sharing some testimonials. And I shared a clip from Clinton, who's now an international speaker. So I think this would be sort of, Val, what you're talking about as far as like something that's within reach that you can look at. So let's have a look at that together. Let's see what's going on. Okay, Clinton has no idea that I'm sharing his video, but I'm sure he would be, I think he would be cool with it. I'm pretty sure, because Clinton's a really cool dude.
Hey, everyone, help me welcome to the stage Mr. Clinton Young.
Oh, wait, just lost it.
Power to destroy everything that we want for ourselves in our lives, that we know deep down in our soul is ours to have. It's outside of those limiting beliefs. Fear is the only thing that gets smaller as you run towards it. Why say run towards your fears?
Elmo, we're not seeing it on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, wait. I don't know where it went.
You create more awareness around them.
Are you seeing it? But you're no longer sharing your screen.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Can you see that now?
Can you start it over? No.
No?
Nope.
No. Can you start it over, Taylor?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
I was trying to get fancy and make it full screen. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we did see it full screen for a second, then it disappeared. And we could hear it in the background. as you were-
Okay. Oh, and you'll actually say that quote a lot, so you could tell that Clinton's been to my events. Okay, so full screen. Here we go.
Help me welcome to the stage Mr. Clinton Young.
yeah,
Still
you're still
don't
not
see it.
sharing your
See it.
screen.
Ashley, do it.
You're not hearing it?
No,
We're
can't
not
see
Oh,
seeing
we
it.
can hear
We can
like
hear.
your speakers, but we can't see it on the screen. I can try to share if you want me to. I don't know which one to use.
No, I'll just do it this. I'm not gonna. Okay, I think this should work.
Okay.
Yeah, we see you now. Yeah.
Clinton Young.
Can you see and hear it okay?
Your beliefs have the power to create, and they have the power to destroy. Everything that we want for ourselves in our life, that we know deep down in our soul is ours to be had, it's outside of those limiting beliefs. Fear is the only thing that gets smaller as you run towards it. So I say run towards your fears. Discover your limiting beliefs. Because as you start to discover your limiting beliefs, you create more awareness around them. And that's when they begin to dissolve. Awareness creates freedom. Now, achieving great success is not all roses. Fail fast and fail often. And I say that because we're going to experience failure anyways. We might as well get it out of the way right up front, right? It's part of the process. It's a necessary step on the pathway to success. I believe that what needs to happen is to reignite our human spirit.
Hey, this is Henry Evans with Get Clear Marketing, and I just had Clinton Young speak to our group and do an exercise, and it was fantastic because not only did it get everybody up out of their seats and moving, he increased the energy of the room and gave a ton of great value.
He absolutely inspired, educated, and lifted to a whole new level.
The room full of entrepreneurs have left inspired, energized, and ready to go out and make a difference in their business.
I think the best thing that you could do for your company and especially your audience is to book Clinton Young, because what I saw today was a masterpiece.
Clinton Young is an internationally recognized speaker and the catalyst for your organization's next level of performance. Clinton has recently spoken to over 25,000 people globally, delivering world-class inspirational keynote speeches, team-building workshops, and leadership retreats for clients like Dell EMC, Renatus National Sales Convention, the U.S. Armed Forces, and many more. With his thought-provoking yet comedic style and riveting personal stories infused with unconventional wisdom, Clinton's signature programs are guaranteed to engage your audience from start to finish. Clinton has proven he can powerfully impact intimate teams of 20 and electrify audiences of several thousand. He is sure to inspire, educate, and catalyze your audience to unlock their full potential. To inquire about availability, please visit clintonyoung.com/speaker or call 1-833-CY-SPEAKS today.
Okay, was that helpful?
Very helpful. Yeah.
Yes,
that's amazing.
definitely.
Thanks.
I love the gravitas of the British voiceover artist.
Yeah, see? So, I mean, that sounded really good. And he did a lot of what I shared with you today, right? Like he totally incorporated those elements. So yeah, awesome. Okay, well, I'm happy that was helpful.
Is he a keynote artist as well? Does he do music as well, or is he more just a speaker?
No, he's a speaker.
Okay.
So yeah, he does not perform in a way that we do, but yeah, he's a keynote speaker. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I saw some other hands. It looks like maybe they went down because questions have been answered, I think.
It was me. I think you did answer the question, but do you have another, like a student who has done keynote concerts? Maybe some, is there anybody else you could think of that we could see another video?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, those are a couple of people we were talking about earlier with Ashley. Did you find some?
Well, the reason why I'm not, I did give some names and you're welcome to go look them up. The reason why I'm not sharing them is because a lot of the ones I'm seeing haven't actually followed the model. So for example, they might show music first when Tiamo has clearly said, you'll have better results if you show speaking first, or they'll lead with a testimonial, which is also, anyway, or they're, really long, or one of them was like a cartoon drawing anyway, but and you can do whatever you want, and you're welcome also to reach out. And I know you guys are in the Facebook groups online. We have one that's called Music Prosperity Mastery, which if you're not a member of, you are all granted access to. And then there's the Musicpreneur Academy group as well. So you can ask in there around to people who have reels. But I think you'll have the most success if you follow what Tam was teaching. And that's why we're kind of hesitant to share some of these other ones, because we want to make sure that you follow the formula to get the result. And you'll notice that the people who do follow the formula are the ones who are charging more and are the ones who are doing better at it. So mine, for example, is like 4 years old. It follows the formula like pretty much, but it's very old and outdated. And I haven't been actively pursuing it this last year with COVID and everything. So yeah, that's why, I mean, you're welcome to look them up and talk to them and ask about it, but I would just, I caution you to follow the formula first. And then if you want to look at what other people are doing, you're welcome to do that too.
That's really helpful. Thank you for sharing that. Honestly, just, yeah, to know that. I thought of, there's a young man, I think I mentioned him one other time. His name is Josh Sundquist. I'm going to say young, he's probably in his mid-30s by now, but he's a motivational speaker and his reel was really good, but he doesn't do keynote concerts, but he's like a really sought after keynote speaker. And I went to his website, like he used to go to my church. I know his family and he's just like doing amazing. So I think that might be,
yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. So hopefully this helps just to get a sense of a couple, but you could always, like, if there are speakers that you like, you could go look them up, go to their website, look at their reels. Like you could just do that. And then as far as the concert element of it, just imagine that you're integrating your music clips in there, but you can get a sense from other keynote speakers. So if there's speakers that you like, just look them up, check it out. You could also do a search for keynote speakers or top keynote speakers or something like that. You can go to Vin's site. So this should give you a sense. Eventually, of course, you can go to my site now, but when I got my new one, which I feel like we're hyping it up so much, that wasn't my intention. But whenever I have my new one, I can walk you through it if you want. But what I think you will find is they all have a similar pattern. I tend to come from this from the perspective of not only someone has a body of work of being booked for keynote concerts, but then someone who books guest speakers for my events and looking at their sizzle reels. So I'm looking at it from both angles, and I found, like, when I'm looking for someone to be on my stage, this is what I look for. And when I'm looking to get booked for other people's stages, this is what I deliver. And so these elements that I've shared with you today, like, I'm encouraging you to not then go create your own formula. All right, because you could have done that without me, right? So I'm teaching you that formula because I find over and over again that this is what works really well for me. And this is what has worked for people that I've chosen to speak at my events. So, and it looks like Ash, thank you for sharing yours, Ashley. I appreciate that.
I said 4 years, it's 5 years. That's
5 years. Yeah. Yeah. And 5 years in like sizzle reel land that's a lot, so, but it's also, it's great motivation of, like, when you've done the album and the album is now like, it's been years and it's like, oh, okay, well, it's time to have the new one because I have a new sound or I'm better or I've got new songs. I mean, it's very much like that with a sizzle reel.
Well, and I think too, part of Beth's question, and tell me if I'm wrong, Beth, but is just, sometimes when we see these really big productions and we know that these videos probably cost thousands of dollars to make, it feels good to know that with that 5-year-old video of mine, I did book speaking engagements that were thousands of dollars off of that video, even though it was made, probably on my Final Cut Pro on my MacBook by myself, or no, I had help. I had somebody else that ended up kind of finishing it up because it's hard to do on your own, like we've talked about.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, when you're on a budget, sometimes you got to start somewhere and then you kind of move up from there. So
exactly. And as we get better and more experience doing it, then we'll have more money to put toward, more expensive sizzle reels too. But no, this is really good. Just understanding the format of how to do it. And so, yeah, but thank y'all for all this great insight and help. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And something that's really important in this process too is to not compare your beginnings to other people's endings. because then we feel inferior. We feel like, oh my God, I don't have that type of footage. I'm never going to get booked now because there's all these other people that have these amazing reels. Like, I don't want you to think in that way, because then you'll jump ahead and you'll compare yourself to everybody. And I don't want you to do that. Like, we're creating this together. Like, we're building this now. And eventually one day, you know, the 10th version of your reel or something, you'll be showing it. It's like, oh my God, this is like a $10,000 reel. It looks unbelievable. But before you get there, and you know, what I would say too is, as you are growing this, I would put some money aside when you get paid for these keynote concerts. Like, put a little bit aside to go toward your next reel. And
That's
then
great advice.
Yeah, you're getting new footage, so you know, okay, like I'm getting new footage on new stages. I'm becoming a better keynote concert speaker performer, and I know that every 2 or 3 years I'm going to need to upgrade my reel. So maybe every gig that I do, I put 1,000 aside, or like 500, so that when it comes time for that new reel, you can increase your budget on it to make it look even better. And then there's going to be a third version of it. And like, if I showed you the first version of my reel, yeah, I was like, God, I mean, I look at it now and it feels kind of embarrassing, but at least I had one, you know, like I put one together and it got me going, right? So I don't want you to think of it of like, oh, I need a reel so that I get booked on 30K stages. You know, it's like, no, we need you to get a reel so that you get initial bookings and you get going. And then the second version, you know, the second reel is going to be like, okay, we've got you now on some of those stages. And now it's going to be even so much better. And then it just keeps growing like that. So I just want you to go at a pace where, if you're looking at other people's reels, or you're looking at Vins, or you're looking at like whomever, that you also understand that at one time they had their first reel too. And keep that in mind, okay? That's important. Yeah.
Thanks, Tiamo.
You're welcome. Yeah. Okay, any last questions before we wrap things up today?
Oh, sorry.
So what I want you to do, and I see your hand there, Midge. So what I want you to do is, like you would be in a studio, make this fun, make it creative, make it you, right? So when I think of my reel, I'm like, what music goes with my vibe and the clips that I use and like all of that stuff. I want it to be a great representation of who I am. And that's a very, very creative process. So I want you to treat it like, I mean, it's a very creative, personal thing. And I want you to have fun with that. So Midge, what's your question?
It's off topic, so we
Okay.
don't have to answer it today. But I've never actually spoken, but I'm getting ready for my first speaker thing, if it works out, and I can explain that later. But I'm wondering if a lot of things will happen spontaneously when I'm up there, because I perform and things were kind of crazy and I came alive. Is that same kind of thing going to happen on stage when I'm speaking?
Even more so when you're speaking.
Okay, because right now I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I feel like every time I speak, something spontaneous is going to happen, whether you were hoping for it to or not. Like, there's going to be spontaneity. I feel like with performing music,
Yeah.
that to me is one thing that I like more about speaking than music. And there's some things I like more about music than speaking. But one thing that I like more about speaking than music is I feel like there's a lot more space and opportunity for spontaneity. Because music, at least for me, I don't feel confident enough in my ability to just ad lib and spontaneous, like go riffing and like playing. Like I'm just like going down some path and I'm playing. Like for me, it's like I've got my songs. I play my songs the way they're written, and I do that over and over and over again. Now in the moment, I might come up with something like a call and response thing that I didn't plan, or like a little thing. But speaking, there's definitely moments that are changed. Okay. And I go down this whole path I never planned on because of me reading the room and the audience, or something that came up for me in the moment. So I feel like with speaking, there's a lot more opportunity for spontaneous moments, for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. And I think Beth, you have your hand up. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Well, I had a couple things. I wanted to thank you. I attended a Toastmasters last night, and I wanted to tell you, and it was really fun. I didn't even know our town had one that existed, and it's still virtual. I think that's nationwide or worldwide. They just haven't made it go back, but it was really, really good. So I plan to start going to those. And then I read the book called The Big Leap. I ordered that. You had recommended that book. I saw it, in resources, and it was really insightful. So, and I created my speaker one sheet, and if it's too late to show it, I understand, but I wondered if I could just show it. I have it on my screen just to get your feedback.
Yeah, I can give you like 20-second kind of feedback. Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I screen share? Okay. Let's see. Ashley might need to enable me to screen share.
Or maybe I can make you a co-host again.
Okay.
You should be able to now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I have two versions. And I realize this is the first, like I'm going to do, it's going to be like a website. These things, right, they're going to change. So the first version I did, I had just this. I have finalized it, but I found someone at Fiverr who did it for me. And so I did a front and a back, and I really used your template to
I see that. Yeah.
I hope I didn't use it too much, but it is about me, and I came up with speaking topics.
Okay. Great.
And just kind of, and reviews. These are all real reviews I've had.
Yeah.
And I have a website, a separate website, but I'm going to get somebody to do it. I realize that is not my thing, and I need to redo my music website because it's just not, and then here's the other side. Now this picture needs to come out because it's blurry. It's not at all appropriate. He put it in there to fill it.
Okay.
He put this, which was my album cover, and I guess I'm okay with that. But and he put this generic because right now the speaker photos I have, they were done by somebody who they just were not good of my album release when I was on stage. So I'll have to get some different ones. Yeah.
No, the layout format is great. Other than, I would change out that picture like you said. But it looks really good.
Thank you. So, do you like the colors? Do you have
I do like the colors. Yeah. I mean, is that if that's your vibe that you're going for, like these pastels and pinks and purples and great. So I like that a lot.
I think so. I got some feedback from some other, like in Breeze Female Musician Academy, and I went with a bolder, deeper color, but people liked it, but they said it was just too hard on the eyes. Like they didn't really like it as much. So
I like the reviews. I like the contrasting color, like the gray with the pink next to it. So I like that.
Do you like it better than the blue? I actually ended up I got the second version for really cheap because I had people that liked both. But
I don't know. I like. I guess it's a personal preference. I think I like that one.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of pink going on, but fortunately there's enough different shades that I think it's nice looking. So but that's a personal preference.
Right. And my talks might be geared more toward women. So
great.
So that could be
great.
Okay. Well, anything else? Okay.
Just scroll up really fast. So there where it says web and email. So the first letter of every word you want to capitalize, so it's easier to read.
Oh, okay.
Same with your email. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, like if I called that number now, what would happen?
Oh, you'd get a message. So I may have to set up a Google. Because that's my cell. That's my personal cell, which I use for everything business.
Right. Right. So, yes. People who are doing well in the circuit, you don't typically go right to their cell. You go right, like you go somewhere else. Whether it's, someone booking for you or your own line, like a professional separate line, because if it goes to your cell, it's like, oh, okay, so she does this on the side then.
Okay.
All these things matter, right? Same with your email, Beth Matthews Speaks at Gmail. That to me
Not that good. Okay.
feels like hobby speaker.
Okay. And I haven't even set that up yet. So that's
Okay.
good. That's good. So booking at Keynotes with Beth,
Yeah,
something like that.
something like that.
.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just bookings with Keynote concerts with Beth.com or booking
Yeah.
at.
So visually, it looks really good. Eventually, I'd replace that picture of the microphone, but that comes in time too. Like the speaker sheet evolves just like everything else.
Right. And I did get someone based on your, I'll stop sharing now, but thank you. I found someone on Fiverr who does unlimited revisions up to the point, but he said he's in it for long-term relationships. So if I like his work, I can get him to make changes to it. So
Nice.
thank you.
I'm just reading in the chat. Looks like Ashley, I didn't see you mentioned Steve Pedersen.
Oh,
So okay, cool. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I gave a couple of feedback for you, Beth, in the chat. There's little
Okay.
things you can do when you're looking at a design to make it your own. For me, this is like super on the nose, borderline plagiarizing the design
okay.
itself.
All right.
So
And I don't
I
mean
would
to
like
do that.
change. No, I'm not. It's fine. I mean, and Tiamo's told you to use his stuff as inspiration. I would just be careful and like change a few little things, like maybe the direction of where things are facing, maybe the angles, like using like an oval instead of a triangle, like little things like that can make it your own are really
Mhm.
helpful. And then the
That's-
other thing I was going to say is I love the first version for color wise, but I also love that blue. Like that blue was really good. So I think if you just swapped the triangle at the top, no, so this is the second version with the blue. So if you go back to the first version at the top, just
Mhm.
swap the triangle color and keep the reviews gray. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, that's a nice idea. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And have it something a little different, a little bolder and more of a contrast. I've really tried to work with them on color. I couldn't quite, but yeah, that's good advice. And I didn't mean to plagiarize, but I appreciate y'all's feedback and we'll do some of what you recommended. So thank you.
Well, and you
Yeah.
want to stand out, right? Like you don't want an event planner if he was considering you and Tiamo to be like, wait a second, something's going on here. You want to have your own little unique edge. So it's not necessarily because Tiamo's like, oh, I don't want anybody copying my stuff, or that I feel that way, but just to differentiate yourself, to come up with your own creative flair.
Mhm.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah,
That's great.
which thank you for bringing that up, Ashley, which is another point to make, because keynote concerts, I believe, maybe I'm biased, but I believe it's going to become a genre. And as more and more musicians are doing this. So I've certainly have worked with students who've put it out there, but it's not common, it's not known. But eventually it's going to become more and more known. And I think eventually it might even get to the point where event planners are doing searches for keynote concerts, right? Like actually doing a Google search for keynote concert or music keynotes or things like that, because it becomes a thing. And then we don't want everyone having like the same look, like, and all of that, because then it gets clear of like, okay, like what? So it's something that as it becomes more known, we do want people to distinguish themselves from each other, which is just a good thing for us as artists, so. Yeah,
And
okay.
I'm putting a couple other examples in the chat of people that have been students of ours that I've worked on their one sheets for, that you can
Nice.
see some other options. And you can see it's pretty similar, but it's just different in their own way. They come up with the different shapes and things like that. You'll see.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. Okay, Jeza.
Oh, hi. So hi again. I just want to share something very positive and directly related to our one-on-one meeting, Tiamo, that you mentioned about revealing emotions. And Mitch was mentioning, the spontaneous moments. And I'm thrilled to report that I had my first live performance this week on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it was a house concert. And I want to thank you, Tiamo, because I watched that. You know, you did a workshop on house concert last week.
Yeah.
And I applied some of that, but not exactly everything. And I got already 2 ladies who want to be, yeah, right? Anyway, but what I want to mention that was very special is that I always talk. It's I always do like talk and play, except that's not really keynote concept. And I was presenting a piece which was a Brahms ballad. And I mentioned that the Brahms ballad represented how I felt during the COVID. And the piece is so stunningly beautiful and moving that I finished the piece, and it caught by surprise because I got so emotionally involved. When I finished playing the piece, some people in the audience had tears in their eyes, but I had tears in my eyes. And I felt like, oh my God, now I have all this emotion showing to everybody. And I thought of you. I thought, well, you know, it is there. And then you share. And I said to them that, you know, I'm sorry I have to compose myself because it really moved me. And I had to take a few minutes, and people really appreciate that. And I took some minutes and I move on. But what I want to share is that something you had taught me on our one-on-one, that people will appreciate those spontaneous moments. And some people said, I'm so glad that you were honest about how you were feeling that moment and you showed it. And I have been struggling since our one-on-one meeting with my reluctance to show my emotions so raw. And I told them, I'm sorry, this caught me by surprise. And I'm usually not this nostalgic, but I always have as a goal to move people so they have tears on their eyes when I play something here. But I didn't have as a goal to move myself. But I think that was a positive experience that I want to share. One, that I was playing for live audience, and 2, that I actually had to show my emotion despite not wanting to, and that the audience really appreciated that.
I love that for you, Geza. That is wonderful. And it's when you allow yourself to be emotional, you give your audience permission to be too. And that's ultimately what they want. So sounds like you allowed yourself to feel that. They were really appreciative. And I want you to keep doing that, because it's not just for your audience, but it's also for you. It was probably, I don't know if it was healing for you or if it helped or in some way, but like when it's a release for you, it's a release for them.
Yeah, so I've been struggling with how to use your device on letting that come on my keynote speaking thing. And I'm almost there to, I'm working on it. So
Yeah.
I want to let you know that I've been working on it, and that's what has recently happened. So
That's beautiful. Thank you for
Right.
sharing that.
You're welcome.
Keep on doing that, okay?
Thanks, Tiamo.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, everyone. So thanks for the work that you're doing. Thanks for growing with me. Thanks for supporting each other. Hopefully things are going well with your mastermind teams, AKA accountability groups. So please continue meeting with each other and being consistent. And looking forward to our next call. And thank you so much for all of your great questions. I so appreciate you guys, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye, everybody.